how my kids would take to that, or how you guys would take. I think your mama kind of introduced you guys to me with a guy short and bald with a gold tooth and all that junk. So I didn't have the gold tooth, just short and bald. But yeah, it was cool. And as things worked out, my kids are a lot of respect for you kids, and vice versa. All the kids get along. All the kids get along real well. The only one you guys didn't meet was David, and David was kind of like David was the oldest. He was Barbara, my first wife. He was Barbara's boy from a previous marriage, and we adopted him when he was like 3 years old, and it worked out pretty well. And David just never traveled that much. He was he was a workaholic. The people he always worked at these tire companies, and he didn't travel at all. He worked. He'd get 3 days off a year, like Christmas and Thanksgiving, and one more day, probably his birthday. That's all he took off. And so he's the only he's the only kid on my first wife's side that y'all didn't meet. And unfortunately, he passed away a couple of years ago. Yeah. So, but the rest of the kids, Kimberly's met all your kids, and Stephen and Pete, of course, are very close. Pete's probably the closest to everybody. Pete. Everybody loves Pete. Everybody loves Stephen and Kimberly too, but Pete is always, since he was a baby, he's always Peter was Peter. Everybody loved Peter. And I'm very proud that he's getting his license this week. I'm looking forward to it. I'm trying not to call him because I don't want to get him nervous, but I'm counting the days till he gets his license, He's wanted the license. I got my license and took him for a ride. He says, when I get my license, I'm going to take you for a ride, so I'm going to hold him to it. Yeah, that's pretty much the kids. The kids, yeah, it's a lot of kids. 8 kids, 16 grandkids, 3 great grandkids.
Wow.
What more can you ask for?
Yeah.
Just don't get no better. I remember your grandpa, Carlos Garcia. God Almighty, that guy, I used to envy that guy. But I'm not sure you remember when he was still alive and living over in the house on Palmetto. And every time we get together, all the kids would come over for a Thanksgiving or Christmas or what it might be. And sometime during the day, Grandpa would sit on a couch in the front room, and especially the girls would just take and jump on the couch, and I'd be all over Grandpa, laying on him, hugging him, and all you see was his face, and he'd be covered with kids, And afterwards, he would come to me and say, "But you're seen a luckier man in your life," and he's right. He was the luckiest person around, He loved his grandkids and loved his kids, Great guy.
So what was that like first meeting him? Because you were quite a bit older than Mom when you first met.
Yeah. I still am.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and I met him. It was a kind of an unusual situation. I met your grandma. Mom and I were dating for a while, and Mama wanted me to meet your grandma and your aunts, and so one day she asked me if I wanted to go to lunch with your mama. I said, yeah. Your Aunt Dee had a restaurant over on Belfort. So she said, meet me at this restaurant. So who's there but Grandma, Aunt Neva, Aunt Dee, and Great Grandma? And I walk in there, these women, Mama and all the women. There's 5 women there, and I think, my God, what a disadvantage, And we had a nice little visit, and first I met your grandma, but then to meet your grandpa was kind of it had to be like a month later, maybe 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later. Carlos Jr., his wife Betty, had a sister, Sherry. And Sherry died of an accidental gunshot wound like about a month later. So we went to the funeral, the wake, and that's where I met your grandpa, at Sherry's wake. So a very, not the ideal situation to meet your future father-in-law, but met him and just real cool, nothing, no long discussion. How are you? Welcome to blah, blah, this. And only after When we got married in July, they never said, "Well, welcome to our family," and got to be real good friends with him. He was a great guy. I mean, loved to go fishing, loved to be in his boat, but he was a poor man for maintenance on his boat and all that. You remember the time we went fishing? You and I and Mom were going to go for a boat ride, and Carlos didn't like to do maintenance. In fact, he parked his boat at my house because he couldn't back it into his driveway, and I backed it into the house for him. And one day, you and I and Mom were going to go on a boat. The boat was at my house, and we went down to Galveston. We launched a boat. You and Mama got out, and I said, I put the boat in the water and tied it to the dock right there. I said, Mama, you stay here. I'll go park the car in the trailer. So I did. I go park the car in the trailer, and I come walking back over. It's a big parking lot. I come walking back over, and you on the boat, and Mama's on the boat, and there's like 3 more guys on the boat. I said, whoa, what's going on here, right? It was the 3 Coast Guard guys. And they were going through a boat with a fine-tooth comb. And you had like 10 write-ups, no fire extinguisher, no this, no that, no lights, this. I said, my God, and they wrote things up, and they said, well, these are just warnings. Get them fixed before you take the boat out again. But they let us go ahead and take the boat out that day. He said, just go ahead and go for your ride and come back, but don't put it in the water again until you get these things fixed. But that's the way Carlos was, And the other funny thing about him, just real quick, like, him and I were going to go fishing one Saturday, and he had his Cadillac. He had a boat hitch in his Cadillac. I didn't have a boat hitch. So I get my car at Carlos's house, and we drop it off and get ready to go. He says, won't you drive? I said, okay. So I pull out of the driveway with a boat behind us, and I'm going to head down the Gulf Freeway. He says, let's get on Telephone Road instead. Go that way. He said, go to the beach. I said, well, okay, if you insist. He said, it's a nice little ride. I'm thinking to myself, he's got a reason for not wanting me to go down the Gulf Freeway, right? And he had a reason. Sure enough, we got heading down Telephone Road, and we didn't get even halfway to Eleven. Here comes a police behind me, stopped. I said, what's going on? He said, well, there's no registration on the trailer back there. I look at Carlos. He's just sitting there.
That's funny.
One of the famous times with Carlos was we're gonna go fishing. Katie, my grandma Katie and Carlos, and me and Mama. We're gonna go fishing on Galveston Sunday, and he hasn't got an anchor for his boat, so we started heading to Galveston Gulf Freeway. Right, we stopped, of course, at Academy or you'd buy an anchor, and nobody had an anchor, So we had a case of beer in the car. Me and Carlos were drinking beer. We get down the Gulf Freeway. Every exit we stop off and go to a boat place and try to find an anchor. We couldn't find it. We stopped at 4 or 5 places. Couldn't find an anchor. And every time we stopped, another beer, another beer. By the time we got to Galveston, of course, the case of beer is gone. And still no anchor, right? So we get out. And Carlos is going to take the boat out anyways. And we had been drinking. We had to go buy more beer. And we put the boat in the water and we take off. And Carlos, like you say, I had given that guy a set of sheets, for the anchor, for the depth of water, charts for the Gulf, for the Galveston. He left them home, and he didn't want to go by the sign. There's green and red anchor, buoys on the way out. He's not paying attention. He just takes the boat and he goes start going all. Next thing you know, we didn't get in a boat more than 5 minutes. Grinds to a halt. We're going ground, right? And he just plowed into a sandbar. It was up like 6 inches of water. Plowed into the sandbar. We had 5 minutes in the water, and the boat would just sit back and going back and forth. It was low tide, so we sat there in the boat until high tide, drinking beer. You can imagine the condition we're in right by the time the high tide came in and we get off that sandbar. He brings the boat back in and park it. And we're going to go to, we're getting hungry by then. We go to a restaurant, and we went to a couple of restaurants. The first one wouldn't serve us. I guess we were too drunk, We get into the second or third restaurant, and Carl's a big man, 6'2", 6'3". The waiter's leading us to our table, and Carlos is here combing his hair. And your grandma's just shaking her head, Carlos. They fed us, but Carly, he was a funny guy. I had more good times with that guy than you can imagine. So we got along very well. Pretty cool, pretty cool.
So that means y'all had 10 years together?
We had 10 years together, right? 10 years. And 10, in fact, I think I mentioned that, and people we make note at his funeral. Everybody put little notes in. I says I had a great 10 years with the guy. 10 years, 10 years. Cool guy, real cool guy. I went down to a TV commercial with him one time. When he was still doing the TV shows, and he took me down to the studio one night. And he said they put me in one just like we're doing now, an interview. And I had a little business going up north with this, making storm windows for inside storm windows around. He said, "Why don't you take a little pitch for your storm windows?" We did. He questioned me, and we just had about a 15-minute commercial. Went pretty good, pretty cool. Yeah.
What did you think of his? You were around when he did the restaurants, right?
Yes, yeah. It's so disappointing that he has such a good offering to the public, and his concept. You remember his concept he had about the one up in Irvington. His concept was the front of the restaurant's a huge plate glass windows, and you walk by it and you look in and you see people sitting there, and they're cooking the chickens right inside the first window as you walk by. Mm-hmm. It had this huge rack